And I'm just going to spend a few minutes just going through the kind of what drives these teacher water coolers. And the biggest one is actually the fact that we have these GLOBE Student Research Symposia. And those are a series of research conferences for students. There's 6 of them across the country. And they, this year, are funded by a NASA grant, but also by Youth Learning as Citizen Environmental Scientists. So we're really excited to have 2 groups sponsoring this series. We invite all 5th to 12th grade students that are GLOBE students across the country to attend. We have funding support available. The funding support, the ask this year tripled. So it'll be interesting. We're going to try and fund as many groups as we possibly can to come. But it's really exciting to see how these have grown in the past 4 years. These are the locations. So we have them taking place starting in early April. And then the last one is May 31st and June 1st. And that is in the Northeast Mid-Atlantic. So we have all of these taking place across the country. We're really excited about them. So what are the, what drives these are, in the past several years, we've had webinars and open office hours for teachers, and they've really focused on the science practices, such as conducting field investigations, all the way through giving a poster presentation. All of these webinars were recorded and archived, and they are on our YouTube channel, and they're also on the GLOBE website under the Student Research Symposia page. We've had office hours for questions on the SRS. This year, we're doing something a little different. We're focusing on the data and the data analysis. So in a couple weeks, we actually have another presentation by Cornell Lewis from SSAI, who's our web person, one of several, and he's going to walk us through how to enter the data on the GLOBE website, which is going to be really helpful because that seems to be a stumbling block for a lot of schools. We also have a teacher hotline. So Kay, I hope you join that. And what that is to help teachers that are implementing GLOBE in the classroom, and it is staffed by other GLOBE teachers. So we're not asking for you to be an expert in anything. We ask you, what do you think you're good at? What have you done well in your classroom? And could you serve as a resource for other teachers that may be, and we match people up. So if a teacher is in 3rd grade and saying, what does it look like in a 3rd grade classroom? Then we match that 3rd grade classroom teacher up with another 3rd grade classroom teacher and hopefully make that connection so they can have a conversation. We also have blog posts by teachers, and this has been really exciting to see develop, where teachers have talked about different science practices and how they've worked on that in the classroom with their students. Nate Rayner also did a blog post about what GLOBE looks like in his classroom. So we're trying to really have these connections between teachers in different ways. So the hotline, the blog posts, and now the teacher water coolers. So we can hopefully support everybody doing GLOBE. And then we are asking for students to do videos, and they would be on different pieces of GLOBE and what that looks like in their classroom, what they're proud of and what they've done. So we would love to get that started, and there's an email to email Haley Wickline, and she is kind of leading that initiative. And finally, we have a teacher listserv. We encourage you to sign up for that. That has any of the news and updates we have about the Student Research Symposia, but we also highlight teachers and what they're doing in the classroom to get ready for the Student Research Symposia, and also any of the webinars and events. So we kind of focus on one of the science practices, and these come out every 3 weeks. So they're not, totally filling your inbox, but we're hoping that as we work through the week, the weeks leading up to the SRS, you're getting the information that you need in a timely manner. So here's the website for the Student Research Symposia. And kindly, Kay has offered to speak about what she's doing in her classroom, and what that looks like and the work that she's doing. And I know that Janelle Johnson is on with us as well. And I've met Kay at Multi-STEM, where I've been seeing Janelle's work in professional development for teachers and the group and the cohorts that she's developed and the great work that all of you have done. And I can't wait to hear, Kay, what that looks like now. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome, thank you. Well, first off, I want to thank you for having me and inviting me to do this. I am very, very proud to be a part of this and to share some of my journey with you all and with Janelle. I started when I first got to know GLOBE and Janelle and the Multi-STEM Institutes. I was a third grade teacher, and I had been I have been a third grade teacher for about 5 years, and this year I made a change to becoming our STEM teacher, which is really awesome. But as a third grade teacher, I always wanted to incorporate hands-on science, knowing that the more kids are involved in it, the better they will do, and the more their engagement is improved, the more they'll learn. So I got to know Janelle and some of the services they were offering, and we got together, and I've gone to more of their trainings than probably most people. I guess I'm a super fan, I guess you'd call me, because even if the information is repetitive, having a group of people that have similar passions and interests and who are devoted to providing these learning opportunities to kids just revives me as a teacher. So I've gone to a couple of the summer institutes, and I've attended many of the Saturday institutes where we do various trainings, and I try to apply it right away. As a third grade teacher, we did a lot of work around weather, and we had just moved into NGSS standards. So to get to learn some authentic ways to teach weather was really important and valuable to me. Now that I'm the STEM teacher and I don't have my little core of third graders, I recruit them every week. I get a new little small group of kids, and we go out and we do weather watching, and we try to follow through with the GLOBE protocols as we do our weather watching and fill in the important information on the GLOBE site. And we participated in some of the surface temperature campaigns and the air temperature. And it's really a great way for kids to feel engaged with true science. I tell them when we're outside weather watching that they're citizen scientists, and that they get to report their findings, and they get so excited that they're doing some official work from the ground that NASA backs up from the sky. I have also used a lot of the hands-on ideas that I've gotten from the multi-institutes on ways that we can teach kids about our Earth and the systems in our Earth. We've done a lot of things with building large models with a water table or a sand table with water going through it to help teach them about normal weathering and also situations with floods and how to be better on mitigating floods. And overall, I would say a lot of my experiences have just been finding different ways to help students engage in real authentic research and helping them feel like they're participating with a purpose. And I haven't done as much with GLOBE as I'd like to. I tell Janelle I'm a work in progress because I get lots of great ideas, and then time sometimes is not my best friend, or some other things come up within the school that I have to take care of. But I'm trying really hard to make it as a great connection for my students. our school is an international baccalaureate, so GLOBE fits really perfectly with that, because I'd love to partner my school up with a GLOBE school in another country so that they can have some of that authentic conversation around similarities and differences in our communities. I want to also mention that we use authentic data, which is, I think, really important for kids' engagement as well. I used to just try to find information or pull different pieces of data and create mock charts, but the more you're using real authentic data, I think kids are more invested and involved in it. And with weather and with understanding how different systems are interacting, I've done many activities with all grade levels. It's been really exciting. When we had a little bit of snow, we used that to engage in some understandings of how the soil temperature changes and how the sun works to radiate to melt the snow, and how it doesn't always work in certain areas. So it's been really neat to engage in some real science where they're doing those tools with those ideas with those tools. So I know from our multi-institute, they've provided some different thermometer gauges that we could use, one the kind that you use the laser and do the soil temperature, and we've also used some various air temperature tools as well. And that's the other thing that I feel real confident with after my experiences with multi-STEM is engaging right with those tools and taking kids out and let's find some samples of the soil. Let's get some samples of the water. Let's see what we can find, and just really digging in and teaching them that science is a real valued profession that they can engage in now and hopefully take further on in their lives. My son is a biology student, and he has seen me in the waders and going through the pond, the river up by the college, and he said, gosh, if people would have done that with me, it would have been a lot easier to find my career path, because he's now studying and going into fishery and does a lot with macroinvertebrates and has his own pets, as he calls them, that he's taking care of for studies on how it works with different animals. So he even recognizes some of the things that I've done and acknowledges how helpful that is for career paths for students. True engagement, collaboration, working with others, me having the opportunity to work with other professionals, scientists out in the field, and getting to go to really awesome field trips to learn about how we can apply some of this information. GLOBE's just been awesome, and the multi-STEM institutes have really helped a lot. So I feel more confident with what I do, and hopefully it will make my students more confident to hopefully stay engaged in science as a method for themselves as a career.
So there's a couple questions there, but I just wanted to also say that when you said NASA backs up from the sky, like, that is a really neat statement, I think.
It was actually what one of the students had said to me, is kind of opposite of what it really is, but it made them feel empowered.
Well, I think that it does, like, it totally appeals to the child, right? Like, whoa, I'm down here doing this, and then NASA's doing that up in the sky. What do you think about that, Dorian? But you're driving.
I'm unmuting. I completely agree with you. And you know, I was a classroom teacher for over 3 decades, and man, as I was listening to you present, I was just like, hats off to you, and you know, all the teachers that are, you know, back at night and attending these institutes. And like you say, you know, you've been teaching for many years. You kind of know how to do it, and now you're ready to just, you know, see what can I do to make this more authentic and to, you know, engage my students more purposefully. And I love the fact that NASA really is using, well, we're collecting data from the vantage point of satellites, and the fact that we have all this ground truthing that's being done by all of these little citizen scientists all over the world is nothing short of amazing. So I'm so stoked about that.
Thank you.
And if you ever want a NASA person to kind of give a little, a short webinar to your kids and say hello and thank them for collecting their data, I'm always happy to do that.
I would love that. They would love that. They would eat it up. That would be awesome. I will.
You got it. Well, just grab my email. I'm dorian.w.janney@nasa.gov, and we'll set it up. Like I say, I taught for many years, and I know how empowering and exciting that is for kids. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
See, aren't you glad you did a water cooler?
Yes.
There's a question from Vicky. She says, have you considered posting your students' observation to the Globe Goes Our Weather Watcher site?
I will now that I know about it. I hadn't heard of that specific site. So yes, thank you. Like I said, I'm always a work in progress. So give me some more tools and I'd be glad to share what we do with them. Can you give me that address again?
Yeah, I will make sure that I connect you and Vicky together.
Excellent, thank you.
And then you and Dorian too. So
I appreciate that.
Yes, no problem. And have you done any of the AMS data stream courses?
I do not believe I have. That doesn't sound familiar, but once I see it, I might retract my statement, but I don't think so. I did think of something else that I wanted to mention, thanks to Dorian and what she just said. One of the scientists that does research that was at the Multi-STEM Institute actually came to our school and did what we call a Hay Talk, because our school is Charles Hay World School instead of a TED Talk, and just kind of talked about what he did and different options as a scientist to do research. And boy, thank you, Dorian, and thank you to Michael, who had done that in the past. I think giving kids an idea, a visualization of what a scientist is really empowering too, because sometimes they just think of the cartoon caricatures of Einstein and they don't think of themselves as scientists until they actually see some really cool scientists that do really cool stuff.
I completely agree, and that's why I offer it. I think also that when they see science being done as a real thing rather than just kind of memorizing some facts and and checking boxes, I think that they're like, oh, that's science. This is fun, and then they kind of like realize, oh, I am a scientist, and realize that sure, it is hard. It's math, it's reading, it's writing, but it also is a lot of fun.
And you really hit the nail on the head. A lot of times teachers think, well, if I just push an article, I give them the vocabulary, I show them some pictures, they'll start to understand it better. And then that really drains the passion of science out of kids. Whereas if you let them get their hands dirty or let them touch the thermometers and play with the probes, they're so much more engaged in what we're doing.
And so let me ask you this. For students, does a virtual conversation through, the Zoom, right? Does that have as much of an impact, do you, in your opinion, as somebody coming into the classroom?
It's not exactly the same, but if they are able to talk to them personally and they see them and they say, oh, what was your question, you in the red hat? Then they feel more connected, because kids these days are so connected to technology anyways that I think even though it's on a screen, they'd still be engaged with it for sure. I've done a couple of, our Museum of Nature and Science here in Colorado has done some virtual scientist opportunities. One was when they found a dinosaur bone at a construction site, and they had a little live feed with some of the paleontologists that turned the construction site into a now dig site. And it's not exactly the same, obviously, but it was still engaging to them and interesting to them for sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Catalina. I truly agree with you, because my students were able to interact with one of the Antarctica scientists, Samuel Kashuk. I can't pronounce his name correctly, but it made a great impact on them, to the point that they wanted to research more. They wanted to investigate some specific topics that he mentioned during the interaction. And it was long distance, no problem. It really helps.
That's really neat. I think I saw that, but wasn't able to participate. I didn't sign up in time. I'm glad you got to do that with your kids.
It was awesome.
So Janelle has a question, and it is, how can we support you better specifically at the elementary level?
Oh, they've been so supportive. It's hard to say specifically. When I've gone to some of the Institute classes, they do a really great job of just sitting and talking back and forth. Now, how can we modify this for younger kids? And gosh, just more of the conversation. And I know Janelle had an opportunity to come out and see me, and maybe that's what it might be, is just more opportunities to connect together, where we can talk about different things that I do, and maybe we can brainstorm some ways to do it a little better. Finding actual data through the NCAR site, that we did an activity where we were looking at data about weather and climate, and just finding those resources that are comprehensible at their age is really helpful. Gosh, it's hard to be super specific other than that right now at this point, because they've been great.
So are there any particular GLOBE resources that you found particularly helpful for third grade, or for the grades that you're working with?
Working with third and up, the protocols around temperature and atmosphere and soil moisture, those are all very appropriate. I just have to, well, I don't have to, but I try to line it up when they're doing those type of activities in their classroom. I think if they're reading about it and doing some research, if I hit it at that same time, it's more meaningful for them than just saying, hey, we're gonna do this today. So I'm really excited, because my third graders are still engaged in weather. My fourth graders are doing some physical science, a little different, but my fifth and sixth graders are going into some interconnected living systems that are going to be great opportunities for us to use some of those GLOBE protocols. And I love how well they're laid out. It's very, very helpful.
Are there more questions from the people on the line? I feel like I'm asking a lot of questions. Anybody else? I think you're supposed to count to 9.
Well, I just want to thank you again. The resources that you've helped me find and that are on the website, and connecting to my next big thing, I want to do more with that and connect to another GLOBE school in another country. And you've just been wonderful with helping make these connections happen. So thank you for all the great resources and all the great connections.
It's a good community we belong to.
I agree.
And I think that's the nail on the head. It is a community, you know, and that's where I like you say you're a work in progress. We all are. And it's so nice, you know, that's why we come together with water coolers and in community, is exactly because of that.
Thanks for having me. I enjoy the opportunity to have this conversation with you guys.